Hello, James.
Hello, Declan.
Right, firstly, thanks for doing this interview.
Thanks for asking.
And first of all, for the audience, could you introduce yourself? Who are you? How long have you been a member of the club?
My name is James. I've been a member of the club. That's a good question, actually. I'd say it'd be around 2015, 16, something like that.
Was it?
Yeah, no, not that long ago.
All right.
Yeah, 2016, something like
What made you join the club?
that. Chris Arthur made me join the club.
Did he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. So I used to run with Chris. I used to climb with Chris and started running, and then I didn't run with anyone, I was unattached and was racing quite a bit, and then he said, join the club.
Just to let everybody know, Chris Arthur was English champion.
He was, yeah, and among other various
Other
titles,
things.
ran for Britain. So yeah, he had a spare vest. And you should join Bowlander, it's dead cheap. The vest is disgusting and it's brilliant. So I think I joined, and I think me and Sam Harrison were the only ones under 30 at that point.
Really?
I think, and now neither of us are. So.
Yeah. You're old timers.
Yeah. So yeah.
Now, look, James, you're one of these guys who, for me, your racing and running is sort of under the radar, has been under the radar. And
Secrets out.
rather suddenly, here you are, you're doing the Tor Des Géants. Is that how you pronounce it?
Tor Des Géants.
Géants, all right. And so, a massive undertaking. Whereas your profile as a runner and performances haven't suggested anything that you might want to do something like this.
Yeah.
So, if you could talk us through what prompted you to do it.
Yeah, I think that's really fair. That I definitely, I've done some longer stuff, but nothing more than, until this year, nothing longer than 50 miles. Definitely my racing bracket was kind of the longer end of fell races maybe, but yeah, nothing like that.
What? Wasdale?
Yeah, so yeah, I've done Borrowdale and Three Peaks a good number of times, and various kind of, not fell, but trail marathons and things like that. So kind of longer distance. And
yet, at our interval sessions on Mondays, you are far and away the quickest guy.
Depending who turns up.
Of the evening. Yeah. Well, I've never seen anyone get anywhere near you at intervals.
Yeah, I mean.
So there is a speed. There is a base speed there.
So I have definitely never considered myself as fast compared to fast runners. I'm not a fast runner, absolutely not. But I tend to, what I kind of be able to do is I can keep up what speed I do have for a bit longer. But my sort of training background and stuff is a bit different. But more recently, the past few years, I've actually concentrated in the first half of the year to get me out of that winter rut. I've been doing half marathon on the road in March and then May, which I think actually works wonders for your fell speed. Right. I think it's a really it's quite an old-fashioned way of doing things actually. If you look back at sort of 70s, 80s, there was a lot of fell runners who did a lot on the road and did well on the road. Yeah. But only ever means to an end for the fell. And actually I think that's a really underrated kind of
preparation
way of doing it. Yeah. Especially that sort of winter time, it's quite nice. So I've always kind of tried to push on speed. But yeah, the Tour is definitely just so far out of my comfort zone and what I'm used to. But having said that, big, not quite as long as this, but big pushes over 24-ish hours. I have done things like that before, like Classic Rock Challenge.
Because you have been a climber.
Because my background is climbing, so I've done that kind of stuff. And the Coolin Ridge, which obviously it was like 10 hours, it's nothing like it, but it's a big, deep push. Yeah, that climbing background of doing big single-day pushes on what would normally be maybe a multi-day climb in America and Yosemite and the Alps and places like that. I think there's definitely. I was talking to a friend of mine who has done events like this, and he said the people who do quite well are often the mountaineers and the people who are used to just horrible kind of digging in, just getting on with it.
Yeah.
And actually, I think
you've got both.
Yeah,
you've got bowling, and you've got climbing background.
Yeah. For a lot of runners, running.
You're a natch.
If you're just a pure kind of runner and it gets to 10 miles and it starts feeling tough, you're like, stop.
Yeah.
It's done. Whereas maybe when there's a blizzard coming in or you're on a horrible winter climb and you're staying alive, then that's a very different skill set.
Different mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was on my radar that it existed, the race.
Yeah.
But even I would say even last year, I don't think it was on my radar that I was going to do it. And I wasn't on my radar, and then it was just I started to kind of this mentality of you just got to do stuff.
Yeah.
You can do it.
No, I understand.
Get on and do it. Otherwise, you're just always waiting. You're always waiting for that year where it's. I had this year in 2020, obviously, where everything was changed.
Yeah.
And I had this whole year planned out. It was going to be great. I had these big races, and I had the Bob and all the rest of it. None of it happened. And it's like, you don't know what's going to happen. So you just do it. Just get on and do it. So this was a year where I could do it. Just go do it.
From deciding you're going to do it. By the way, what age are you, James?
33.
You're right in the middle of endurance.
33, well, 30s into 40s. 40s is probably the where you want to be. Yeah.
All right, okay.
Certainly on this race.
You're just going into it.
Yeah, maybe.
So where you go from the
I'm downhill on my speed and I'm hopefully uphill on my distance. So.
All right. About what date did it cement in your mind you were definitely gone? Because you have to commit.
Yeah. Well, you put in for it's a lottery to get in.
Right.
And funny enough, I didn't realise this. I was talking to people on the race and they said, "How many times did you try to get in?"
Yeah.
First time.
Yeah.
I didn't realise it was.
Was it?
So it was February. You put your ballot in, and I said to work, "I want to go for this race. Don't know if I'll get in. If I do, it's going to be in September. It's really big, and kind of prepped them for it." I put my name in, and I didn't get in on that first round of the ballot. So I thought, right, that's fine. That's decided. I can forget about it. And that was March, mate. And then I got another email a few weeks later, just saying you've got in on the second ballot. And I didn't really understand it. I was kind of rereading it, and it's translated from Italian, and does this mean I'm in? I don't understand. And somebody texted me and they sent me a screenshot of the start list. Is this you? It's like, yeah, I think it is. Yeah, and it was this kind of like moment of, oh right, so. But also, I didn't realise that your race number is allocated to you. Your number relates to your ITRA points, which is the International Trail Running Association score, and that's based on how many races you've done, these big ultras. So the lower your number, the higher is the ITRA score. And mine was as high as it's possible to get, which means I had nothing. Yeah, so I was
going to make it.
I had no business being there. They just scraped me in.
I suppose that could go both ways, depending on the type of personality you are. You can see that as a challenge, or oh my God, what am I doing in this company?
Yeah, I suppose it swung between the two. You're out there for so long, you've got time to think about it both ways. I just thought, well, if you go in with no expectations, give it a lash and just have a go. And
I want to take you through three aspects of the whole race and you and the preparation. And so the first one, physically, I think you mentioned that you started round about March.
Yeah, and once I knew I was in, then I started training, but I couldn't look directly at it. It's too big and it's too far away to focus on because you just drive yourself mad.
Yeah.
So this is February, March time. Thinking about something, how many months? 5 months away, 6 months away.
Yes.
There's no way I can focus on it for that long and maintain your focus. So I just put it to the back of my mind. Knowing that everything I'm going to do in the lead up to it will help. It's in the back of your mind, but I wasn't waking up every morning like, what's on my tour training plan today? So I started the year with a road half marathon, which I've done a few years running, and training for that gets me out of my kind of winter rut. Yeah. So over the winter, what I tend to do is I run a lot less, and I go to the gym maybe 3 times a week, run maybe 3 times a week, compared to running 6 times a week. And no gym.
Just building the whole body.
Whole body, obviously focused a bit more on legs, but whole body, and I think whole body is what you need. Personally, I think that's what you need for something like this. I'm not looking to build, obviously, clearly, build muscle.
Did you use poles, by the way?
I absolutely use poles, yeah. I don't see how you could do it without.
Are you used to poles?
Yeah, I do use them for longer stuff, and just in training. If I'm going out, or doing multi-day stuff,
Yeah.
I'll use poles.
Is upper body strength, does that come
So
into
it all
play?
builds into it, and just core and how you hold yourself, especially when you're fatigued. And there's the guy, a climber who I used to read his kind of blogs and things like that. And he talks about being bin man fit, which I really like. Bin men have got to be, they're not doing anything specific, but they're putting bins on their backs and they're hefting and moving.
It's kind of functional
Just
strength.
functional strength. And I really believe in that's good. So winter gets strong, and then I come out of that and I'm super slow. I'm really slow coming out of that. But I feel bomb-proof. It's great. It's a really good feeling.
Yeah.
Apart from the slow bit. So I came out of that into half-marathon road training, just to break into that kind of speed and that back to running again, which went really well. Training went really well. Yeah, did the half-marathon, and then rolled straight from that. The next day I did Langdale, and that's when I have that glimmer of, this is Tor. This goes in the Tor bag. This is like, that's what that's for. And a few days later, me and my partner did Cotswolds Way, which was a very middle-class trip, but we did we did 4 days of pretty much a marathon a day. With packs, with poles in March, so with the dodgy weather. I mean, it's still the Cotswolds, but it was like 5,000 metres of ascent. Yeah, it's pretty respectable.
Are you running, or are you walking?
You're basically we're wearing running gear. You're moving quickly. 12-litre packs, something like that. Poles and the dog. Normally we camp on these things.
I've seen your dog.
No. She was this tall and stuff. We stayed in pubs this time. Normally we camp, so normally the packs are a bit bigger. But each year we do 1 or 2 of these trips a year. So this is what I mean. Is this kind of like, I never specifically do these trips thinking, that's Tor training, but it all just kind of builds. Yeah. So I came back from that and went straight into marathon training on the road. Yeah. Again, just building that speed, but going a bit longer. Hit every training session as I wanted to. Yeah. It just seemed to go.
So you're quite methodical, really. There's a plan going on, isn't there, for your year? Yeah. For your running year.
Not always, and not every year. But when I started to get specific plans, like I want to do such a time in the marathon or in the 3 Peaks, which was at a similar time.
Yeah. You had a good 3 Peaks.
Yeah. So
I saw your time.
Yeah. I've had a good.
Well done, James.
It's gone. The year's just gone well, really. So half marathon was a PB. Marathon was a PB, and then just before that, 3 Peaks was a PB. And then once I'd done the marathon, then it was a case of, right, now I need to start hitting certain sessions, certain milestones.
So you got yourself marathon fit. And
got my speed back, got some distance.
March, when was the marathon?
The marathon was sometime in May. So I knew I had a few months then to get, to do something about the Tor.
Mate, June, July, August, September.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of time.
No, but you can't cram for something like that. I had to rely on those 20 years of whatever in the hills. So at that point, I knew I had a few things I wanted to do. Bob Graham, but comfortably.
When did you do that?
So I did that in July.
What time did you put?
21 hours. I did that in 5 minutes. But the crucial thing for that was to finish comfortably and to not lose my head. But the 5 minutes, I think the 5 minutes does matter, because I actually took 5 extra minutes at Honister because I was just really enjoying myself. Oh. I was having a really nice time with everybody.
Going into that last leg is just the best. When you know you've got it in the bag.
I realised I'd not done that leg for probably 10 years. Since I'd last tried the Bob, or since Wreckage. And I had the perfect evening.
Coming down off Robinson is
it was fantastic. And we had the full golden hour kind of light, and I was on it. We got to the last summit, and I looked around, and you can see pretty much the whole route. And I started welling up, and I had to just keep moving, otherwise it would have just been. It was just so. Yeah, I had a really good.
It's good, yeah.
I had a really good Bob.
It's actually different to hear someone not say how hard and painful and
it wasn't
how they were.
It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but it was. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every minute. It's because I didn't push myself.
And that's why you didn't go under 21 hours.
Exactly. But there was no point pushing myself. So I want to do it happy, comfortable, compass mentors, and I was knackered. I was absolutely knackered when I finished. Don't get me wrong. I was shuffling on the road and all the rest of it. But I had a couple of beers en route. I had pizza. I had a chat. It was great. And if somebody had said to me when I got to Moot Hall, if somebody said to me, "No, get up, skid up," I genuinely believe I could have done it.
Yeah.
I could have just carried on. That's how I felt. I mean, once I sat down, I was absolutely done.
Yeah.
But I had that, and I was like, okay, this is a good sign.
Yeah.
So I had the idea that I would hit something each month,
Yeah.
like a target. So and one of the other ones was 5 reps of skidder. So I decided that skidder has got that kind of gravel track up the main thing. And it's kind of like alpine-ish, as in it's like consistent, it's good, it's kind of runnable-ish and whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought...
Specificity.
So and the other thing is the Tor. It's good. That is true, actually. Yeah, specificity, because the Tor is broken down into essentially 7 legs. Every 50k of the 350k, you get a life base where you have a drop bag and a sleep and whatever else. So it's 50k. It's 24,000 meters of ascent in total. You divide that by 7. It's about 3.5. And if you do skidder from the car park up to skidder and back again, it's exactly 10k.
Right.
And I can't remember how many meters of ascent, but if you do it 5 times, it's 3,300 meters.
Okay.
And 50k.
Yeah.
So it's almost exactly a leg of the Tor.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'll just do, and it's good mental training and all the rest of it. I can just drive up, do it on my own. I can park the car in the car park, and that's my aid station every 10k, which is about right for the Tor. And again, it was a boiling hot day. I was on my own, I'm trying to get everything so I can do my fueling, whatever, eating, drinking.
And when is this?
This was in August sometime, I think I did this.
So you got a month to go?
Yeah.
So your sleep pattern's not really practiced?
That was a big thing, but you can't train for sleep deprivation, it turns out. Who knew? So unless maybe you talk to a young parent or something, I don't know. But so I had trouble from the road running with my foot, and actually the week of the bob I almost called it off because the pain in my foot was so bad. I couldn't walk, or barely walk. And the day of the bob was absolutely fine. But about a week after the bob, it kind of came back, and I was What
was wrong with it?
Some kind of plantar fasciitis, I guess. I don't know.
Just comes and goes.
Just something, yeah. So I had to curtail some of it, but I did do the skidder one and I did do the bob. So they were like my big way markers.
That was it.
Once I'd done the bob, then I could think about the Tor. And then from then on, I just did runs in the hills and made sure I got ascent.
Huge.
No, nothing crazy. Whatever run I did, I just made sure I got ascent in.
Yeah.
In my lunch break, I was going to the gym and doing 45 minutes on the.
So at this point, you thought, I can give this a fair stab.
I knew I could do the hills. I felt really strong on the
But
hills.
in your mind, did you say, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, I went into it. Thing is, every race I enter, including Three Peaks and Borrowdale and all the rest of it, every race I enter, I genuinely have this little thought in the back of my head that says, I might win. Yeah. Something might happen that I might win, which is ridiculous because I'm like way down. But like, everyone else might fall over and drop out. And I think if you go into a race thinking, there's a chance I might win this. Yeah. I suppose there is, lightning strike. But like, I might win it. And I went into it not thinking I was going to win it, but going into it thinking, this might be okay.
I just want to talk about nutrition. Okay. You're vegetarian or you're vegan?
No, I'm vegetarian. I don't have loads of dairy, but I'm not.
Yeah, you're vegetarian. Yeah. All right. Standard vegetarian stuff. Then you're in the Tour. You're doing the Tor Des Géants. Did you change your nutrition?
Not hugely. I mean, actually, as a vegetarian, it was fine. The steak there was like sliced meat there, but the staples were all vegetarian.
Yeah, I'm not expecting you to start eating meat just for this.
Not particularly. I probably didn't have as much protein actually as I would at home because as a vegetarian, you learn protein sources other than meat,
plant sources.
And whereas over there on the race, it wasn't as easy to access pulses or but no, it wasn't hugely disrupted. And in the run up to it, I just made sure I was eating a lot. But yeah, make sure every meal it's like just a quick check. Are there carbs? Are there proteins? And nothing too scientific.
Are you keeping track of calories, or are you just eating a lot?
Eating to feel, in the same way I run, just run to feel, eat to feel. I knew when I was hungry. I had a rule of not going to bed hungry. It was kind of my motto for basically the year. But then, in the race, it was, you've got aid stations every 10k-ish. What I did is so you have your drop bag, which you see every 50k ish, gets brought around for you, and in that drop bag I had basically
You bring your own stuff.
just in case it was kind of on the bob you have your leg food, so I had a leg food bag for every leg. It wasn't loads, but I loaded myself up, and I knew if I didn't see an aid station for whatever reason, or I decided to skip every aid station or whatever, I would have the food I needed for 50k.
Had you put on weight prior to the race?
Not really. It was quite hard to, because I was also training more.
Yeah.
So my weight didn't really change.
Okay.
Not really.
Yeah. Lots of carbs, I presume.
Yeah, lots of carbs, lots of protein, lots of fat. And
that's everything.
no, exactly. Yeah, you meant to have one or the other. I just went for all of it. Yeah.
Right, the mental side, because I would imagine that is quite an important part of the whole of completing this whole challenge.
Yeah.
So, did you have to do anything in particular, or did it just suit your personality?
I think it's a combination of it suited me, as in I quite enjoy not suffering, but I enjoy being uncomfortable sometimes. I enjoy putting myself in that situation.
That is the Irish sackcloth hair shirt mentality.
Yeah. It is that kind
it's never good.
I don't enjoy being uncomfortable, but I enjoy sitting in that uncomfortable place and dealing with it and then coming out of it. I really enjoy that process. And I think that's the background of like climbing or winter stuff and all the rest. I went into it with a complete let's see what happens mentality, which felt good. Yeah. As in, it doesn't matter.
No.
The bob mattered.
You were quite relaxed then.
So I swung around. I swung from like, oh my God, what's going on, to quite relaxed.
Calmed yourself down.
Yeah. I felt pretty confident actually. I felt good.
No, mind you, your foot.
Yeah, so post bob, there was a bad week, really bad week, where I intended to do a lot and I didn't. But then it didn't really play up again. I did the odd twinge, but it never played up. And so I felt I thought, well, as long as that doesn't play up, I'll be fine, and barring other injuries. So I felt pretty relaxed about that. But then also, I did do a lot of this sounds more formal than it is, but a lot of visualization. So a lot of the time I'm out on these runs on my own, just pretty boring training runs or whatever I'm doing. And I'm just thinking about, okay, what's that going to feel like? You're 2 days in, it's the middle of the night, you're on your own in the Alps or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, what's that feel like? But I did the same for the bob. On recce's of the bob, I'm like, okay, this feels fine, obviously, because you've only done 2 legs. Yeah. You've got to keep going. How do you feel about that? What's it going to be like getting to the finish line? What's it going to be like getting to the aid station? So I have this idea.
Anticipating the lows.
Yeah, anticipating lows, which I did in the bob, which I was like, there's going to be a low moment. Yeah. There's going to be a low moment. It never came. It was really weird. But I definitely had them in the top. But there's this idea that you can actually build synaptic pathways without actually having done the act. You can just think about it. And by doing that, actually your brain's already building those little pathways. So when you come to do it, there's actually already a bit of a memory of that. Get your brain used to that situation.
Because you are a bit of a student of running. You look things up, you take an interest, you see what's going on, you're looking out for the latest science.
Yeah,
what's the research on this?
I'm not a complete wonk on it. I kind of I'm interested, but equally I think it's so subjective. I think it's so personal. Yeah. And I think an event like that is so far and beyond science. You can't, there's no formula for it. But what I did in the run up to it, what I do like doing is reading other people's experiences just to see what they went through. Yeah. And that was really useful. So I was reading about people who thought they'd found a hole in the space-time continuum. Yeah. There was people who just sat down and couldn't move. They just
hallucinated.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff. So I was like, okay, this is now I'm getting to the nuts and bolts of what I might experience, and that was quite useful. Yeah, sleep is the big one that everyone goes into it worrying about, and was the thing that probably affected me the most, apart from physical stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You went out a week, 2 weeks beforehand. You drove out all the way out there.
Yeah, I drove out a week before. Had a week actually on the course, which was really good. So I did.
It's not a lot of time to acclimatise.
No, it's not enough. I think it takes about a month, and I knew that. But equally, I've never really suffered too bad with altitude. I've been kind of up to, again, doing stuff in the Alps and wherever. I've been up reasonably high and been okay, but was aware that I needed time. So I did a week. So I would go out and I'd run, say, from the start line to the next town, which maybe is 20k. But again, taking it super easy, not being hungry, trying not to feel any fatigue in the legs, just again doing a lot of visualization and all the rest of it, just enjoying it, relaxing and all that. And then in an evening, what I would do is drive up to the nearest high pass, Petit Saint Bernard, which is about 2,200 meters, and sleep up there. I'd go up, have my dinner and everything up there. So.
Stay as high as you could.
And as high as I could reasonably, yeah. So I did that. So I had a week of that. I gave myself the I think my last day of running was Thursday, and then I had Friday, Saturday just relaxed, and then Sunday lunchtime I set off. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it wasn't a huge taper, but I don't taper very well. And
did you feel?
But I felt good.
Fresh on the start line.
Yeah, I had my doubts every now and again on some of the climbs, but I think it was just purely drive yourself mad with these things, don't you?
So now we come to the race.